So thank you to all who took the time to tune in and watch this video today. Now today I'm going to continue my thoughts on treatment programs and how important they are. And in this story I'm going to tell you is about how treatment programs help me, or what I discovered that I needed to continue the process of recovery. Throughout my years of substance abuse, I suffered significant losses. I lost numerous jobs and valuable possessions, including TVs, cameras, stereo systems, jewelry, and phones. Financially, I squandered and lost an immeasurable amount of money. Similarly, my romantic relationships deteriorated, many ending due to neglect. Now, at the time, I was unaware that I had lost what is termed spiritual sight. Being raised in a Christian family, I had started to cultivate this spiritual sight before my subsequent substance abuse. Looking back, I realized that the gradual loss of trust from friends and family was the most distressing aspect for me, above losing the material things that I mentioned. However, it wasn't sufficient to prompt me to immediately take action, as my actions had taken precedence over everything else. I transitioned from cultivating a clear spiritual vision before my drug use to experiencing a blurred and ultimately a complete loss of that vision in a spiritual sense. In his gospel, Mark tells the story of how Jesus healed a blind man at Bethsaida. Beginning in chapter 8 and verse 22, he tells the story of Jesus spitting on the blind man's eye before placing his hand over them. When Jesus removed his hand from the blind man's eyes, he asked him, "Do you see anything?" The blind man's response was, "I see people, but they look like trees." Once more, Jesus put his hand over the man's eyes, and when he removed his hand, this time the man saw clearly. Now it's noteworthy that the blind man was guided into the city by those who cared for his welfare. And for some reason, there seemed to be a certain urgency in their plea for Jesus to heal the man's vision. Jesus' response was measured and intentional. And there's a reason I mentioned this, which will become clear later. Mark provides no further information about the man. However, the use of the word restore in this story suggests that the man once had sight but lost it, similar to how I lost my spiritual sight. In time, I too saw Jesus to regenerate my vision. Upon leaving the substance abuse recovery program that I was in, I was left with almost nothing. As previously mentioned, I had lost or pawned all my valuable possessions. Now, all that I owned could fit into a single laundry bag. Now, as I previously mentioned, my substance abuse significantly affected my spiritual perception. But my family did everything possible to assist me in sustaining spiritual consciousness. However, as my substance use escalated, my spiritual clarity diminished. In the initial stages of my treatment program, I lacked a vision for the future, believing that it hinged on a successful recovery, despite feeling driven by a supernatural force. In retrospect, I realized I should have devoted more effort to this aspect during my treatment to better prepare for life thereafter. But at the time, my sole focus was on recovery. So, let's talk about the regeneration process for me. Before my drug use began, I had a clear vision of my future and was on the path to achieving it. However, the drug use first clouded my vision and eventually stripped it away from me, as I said earlier. Participating in that program felt akin to being in the presence of Christ, as if he had anointed my eyes with his touch, similarly to his first encounter with the blind man of Bethsaida or Bethsaida. Upon leaving the recovery program, my vision was still blurred. Now, it is clear that without entering and completing the program, the restoration of my spiritual sight would not have commenced. To restore my life, I needed to first restore my spiritual vision, which demanded obedience and proactive steps from me. Substance abuse programs are beneficial as they establish a routine and a regimen that aligns with spiritual teachings. Want to have them both. You actually want to have three. But we'll talk about that in another video. Like I said, you want to have a regimen that aligns with spiritual teachings. As previously noted, Jesus' response was deliberate as he proceeded to honor the request of those who presented the blind man to him. The lesson from this narrative is to comprehend the deliberate nature of Jesus' miracles in relation to our spiritual insight. That means when we ask Jesus for something and it doesn't happen right away, it may require us to participate. It may require action on our part. Jesus had the power to immediately restore the man's sight, yet he chose restraint for a purpose, which is underscored by the description of his response was measured and intentional. And it was measured and intentional because Jesus wanted the man to participate in the process of restoring or regenerating his eyesight. Just like the blind man of Bethsaida, who, like I said, had sight at one time in his life and for some reason lost it. My spiritual sight had faded, and I was asking to have it restored immediately. My regeneration journey commenced when I enrolled in a substance abuse treatment program. It lasted 90 days, and by the end of it, I felt a restoration of my vision, which I attribute to Jesus. This marked the first instance of a spiritual awakening for me. Clarity further improved after I underwent a baptism 2 years after I left the program. So by my getting into and completing a treatment program, for me, it was me participating in the miracle of having my spiritual sight restored. 13 years since completing the treatment program, my spiritual vision has become significantly clear, improving daily since accepting Jesus as my Savior. In the narrative of the blind man, he had to physically embrace each stage of Jesus' healing proposition, realizing that accepting Jesus as my healing source, adhering to his guidance, and taking actions were all that was required of me as my journey of regeneration or restoration gained momentum. I had to take an active part in the miracle process of my regeneration. Today, as I reflect, I have recovered more than what was lost throughout my years of substance abuse. Every journey is different, even if it must be taken repeatedly. Meaning, Had I gone back and had to repeat the process, the journey that I took the first time may not have been the same journey I take the second time for recovery. The journey of regeneration is unique for each individual. Some may require more time than others. Whether it's for mending the mind, body, relationships, finances, or navigating situations beyond our control, the initial step should invariably be to seek guidance from a higher power. Treatment programs are effective. For me, it was through divine direction. It was through divine directions I found an excellent program which led to my own gift of recovery. In the next video, I'm going to talk about how treatment centers allow a person to restore their mind or restore themselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. It took all three of those restorations for me to successfully complete the recovery process, and I still use those today. Thanks for watching. I hope you got something out of this video. I would hope that you would like and share. Most of all, start a discussion. If you know someone that's struggling with substance abuse, have this discussion with them. Help them find programs or a treatment center that may work for them. Or you can email me for more information on this topic, and I will be glad to send out any information that I have. I would love to share. I would also like to hear comments and suggestions about other videos that I can do. Please like and subscribe to the channel. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram. I'm going to put the information up at the end of this video again. And again, treatment programs work, but it takes your participation in the treatment, your participation for the miracles to happen in your life. I'll see you guys next time.